Poll is shared. Just over half of you picked B. The next most popular answer was C, followed by the rest, D, and then A, and then E. So let's go through and see if you were right. Okay, poll is hidden. Question should be back up. And let's start with C. C is the most popular wrong answer here. Sorry, C people, not C. And it's really kind of the one that wins the game of which one of these things is not like the others, right? Because if you're looking at these answer choices, you have 4 of these that have positive exponents. Of course, P is P to the first. And 1 of them that has a negative exponent. So let's start with a negative exponent and understand what that does. Remember that a negative exponent flips you over. It puts you in the denominator. P to the negative 1/2 is 1 over P to the half. Or, put another way, 1 over the 1/2 power is the square root, so 1 over root P. So let's consider that. Well, P lies between 0 and 1. It's a fraction. So what happens when you flip it over? Does it get bigger or smaller? If you tell a fraction to stand on its head, what happens? It gets bigger. Just consider a half. Half, if you stand it over, turn it over, stand on its head, becomes 2. And it's even worse if you have 1/10, for instance. That becomes 10. 1/100th, oh my God, it's huge. It's 100. And then, of course, after it stood on its head, you're going to take the square root of it. But note that that's still bigger than 1. Root 2 is about 1.4. Root 10, I'm not sure, but it's over 3 because root 9 is 3. Root 100 is literally 10. So P to the 1/2 is large. P to the 1/2 is definitely more than 1 in every, P to the negative 1/2 is more than 1 in every instance, because that negative made me much bigger by turning my fraction upside down. Do you all agree that answer C is actually not the smallest, but the largest of all of these values? Especially you C people. Do you agree? Do you see why C is not what we're looking for? Okay. Good. So now we can get rid of C. Well, what's left? Well, what's left is a bunch of positive powers of P, but this is where I'm just going to appeal to what I said before about fractions. The bigger the power you raise a fraction to, the smaller it will get. Half to the 1 is a half. Half to the 2 is a fourth, which is less than half. Half to the 3 is 1/8, which is even less. The bigger the power, the smaller the result. So at this point, all I'm really looking for is the biggest power. And the biggest power is 2. B was correct. Maria, you can't see why C is the biggest. Well, let's talk about that for a minute. Maria, do you agree that if P lies between 0 and 1, P could be 1/2, right? In which case, I'd be looking at 1/2 to the negative 1/2. Or in fact, let me make it bigger. That's a half is stupid. Let's make it 1 over 100. Maria, do you agree that P could be 1 over 100? Okay. Well, then the negative 1/2 power, the negative does one thing, and the half does something else. The negative means turn it upside down. So it would be 1 over this number to the 1/2, right? In other words, it's 1 over root of 1 over 100. Now, when you have a fraction in the denominator, you can move it to the reciprocal. You can move it to the, having trouble speaking tonight. You can move to the numerator by taking the reciprocal. So this is really just root of 100, or 10. Does every step of that make sense? That's a huge number compared to all the other little tiny fractions. And you got it. Great. Super happy. And good. Awesome. Awesome.